Hey, Llama here. Scorched Earth. So Scorched Earth is just around the corner for Ark Survival Ascended. A matter of days if we're to believe the current deadlines, and I so desperately want to believe the current deadlines. We are here at the moment, so this is Ark Survival Evolved, Scorched Earth, and you can tell from looking at some of the graphics that we have here, it is definitely quite subpar compared to Ark Survival Ascended. It's a stark reminder, to be honest, of how much the images and the graphics and the light effects and all that kind of stuff have improved with Ark Survival Ascended. You can definitely tell the difference when you start looking at some of the rocks and the landscape. And you can only imagine how that's going to improve with Scorched Earth on Ark Survival Ascended. I have to say, Scorched Earth is actually one of my favourite maps. It doesn't get a lot of love, to be quite honest, but I really do like. There's a couple of things I really like about the map. One is the weather effects, including the temperature, superheat, the lightning storms that prevent you from using cryopods and electrical gear. I think that's a cool feature. Sandstorms I'm not a huge fan of, but you've got to prepare and plan for these sort of things. So they're just added complexities into the game on top of what there already is. The other thing I have to say I love about Scorched Earth, and I'm not going to miss about the island, is there's no fog, which is brilliant. So the only issue you've got is, I think, the lightning storms. Everything goes a bit dark, and obviously sandstorms you can't see, but they come and go. But then for the rest of it, most of your screenplay is quite clear. So let's hope they take that through till Ark Ascended as well. Now, what else did I want to discuss today? Well, because it's been so long since a lot of us have played this map, and we all get used to, so again, I'm talking official servers because that's generally where I play, but we all get very used to being able to transfer stuff on and off maps, and the maps like the island and Scorched Earth and even Aberration, for a lot of us, we've played for a long time with no transfer restrictions, and obviously Aberration's a little different because you can only transfer aberrant equivalent creatures on there, but with Scorched Earth you've been able to transfer anything on here for since not long after the map first came out. So I want to look at today on the things that won't be available on Scorched Earth that we've kind of got a little bit used to on the island, because there are a couple there that maybe everyone hasn't remembered, and it will be worth sort of getting your thinking straight on how you're going to work around that. Alright, the first creature we're going to cover that's not going to be in Scorched Earth that we've been used to having on the island is the Otter. Now, the Otter is an extremely valuable creature for a couple of reasons. One is that it can carry multiple artifacts. It is the only creature in the game that can carry multiple artifacts, including yourself. So nothing else can do that. What does that mean? No otters on Scorched Earth? What that means is that for each artifact that you need or want, then you have to run the cave separately. You cannot run the cave, hang around, wait for the artifact to respawn, grab a second one. You have to then exit the cave, put the artifact somewhere in a box or something like that, and then go back in the cave and run it again. So, for example, if you wanted to do Gamma, Beta, Alpha bosses, and as most of us do, you want an artifact just to stick on your roof for show as well, then you've got to run that cave 4 times minimum, which does add an additional level of complexity to the game, particularly on the harder caves. Now, the other benefit of the Otter is the insulation buff. So the Otter, if you level up an Otter's melee, it gives you an insulation buff, which helps keep you warm in the cold and helps you keep you cool in the warm. How useful would that be on Scorched Earth? It would just be awesome. It would be the most beneficial dinosaur to have, and certainly shoulder pet for you to have. I would give up the alerts that the Jerboa gives if I could have the insulation properties of the Otter, but unfortunately that won't be the case. So again, that's something that we're going to miss out on. Okay, so the next one that a lot of people may be surprised doesn't spawn on Scorched Earth and that is the Pteranodon. So we do tend to get a little bit spoilt with these guys. We assume they spawn on every map because they are known as the basic first fly that everyone gets. First chance to take to the air is on a Pteranodon. Well, on Scorched Earth, they do not spawn. Or at least they don't in Ark Survival Evolved. Now, I guess there's every chance they might change that on Ark Survival Ascended, but I wouldn't hold out any hope on that, to be honest, because the whole point of not having the Pteranodon on Scorched is that it makes getting wyvern eggs harder. So if you are using a Pteranodon to get a wyvern egg on another map, or if you've got transfers enabled to Scorched, for example, then they are probably the easiest snatch and grab flyer that you can use, with the exception of maybe the Desmodus on Fjorda, if you're that far advanced. But obviously on Ark Survival Ascended there are no Desmodus, not at this stage anyway, and as I said, assuming that there are no transfers in Scorched Earth from day one on officials, then we won't see any Pteranodons on this map either, at least not for the first 3 months, I would assume. So what are the options? The options are, you've got 3 options. You have the Argentavis, not a hard tame, to be honest, from the start. Easy to trap, easy to knock out, easy to tame, and pretty tanky. They won't outrun a wyvern, so if you steal an egg on an Argentavis, you're almost guaranteed you're going to die and lose the Argy. But if you're willing to trade that off for a wyvern egg, you can always go back to your bag afterwards and retrieve the egg, as long as you get to it first, I guess. So the RG is an option, but it is pretty much a sacrifice. The second one is the Moth. Yes, you can ride moths in Scorched Earth, believe it or not. So again, I think they're quicker than an RG, but they're most definitely not tanky at all. And so once again, the chances of you escaping intact from a snatch and grab wyvern egg steal on a moth, very slim, and the moth's weight capacity isn't great either. So and wyvern eggs are quite heavy. So there's that one. Your last one, probably your better option, is the Tapijara. So most similar to a Pteranodon. Very fast, and very maneuverable. So the Tapijara can, move left, right, in the air. It can dodge, and it can stop on a dime, and so it's very maneuverable. You can avoid the wyvern fire breath or lightning breath or whatever quite easily on them with a bit of practice, and they're quick. So eventually you will be able to outrun a wyvern on a Tapijara. So most definitely worth getting one of those if you can. The problem we're going to have with those, particularly on official, is that from day one everyone's going to be trying to tame one. So they're not, I wouldn't say they're a rare spawn, but they're not super common. And on Evolved at least anyway, they tend to only spawn around the mountain areas, where all the rock golems and carnos and things like that spawn. Alright, next one that we're missing, well, so I'm going to call out the Giga. So Gigas do not spawn on Scorched Earth, or they never have on Ark Survival Evolved, they never have. So whether they will change that or not, I don't know. I wouldn't expect them to. Will Karchers spawn on Scorched Earth? I don't know. They tend to run on Giga spawns, so I'm going to assume not. And I think there was a good reason as to why the Giga wasn't introduced into Scorched Earth, and so again, it's about making it a completely different environment. Gigas and Karchers are very OP creatures. They can take on pretty much anything, and so I don't believe we'll see them introduced into Scorched Earth, if I'm to be completely honest. I'm not that fussed. I mean, to me, Extinction is really where Gigas and Karchers come into play. So when we're talking about the orbital supply drops, then you start needing something really sort of that does a lot of damage and can be pretty tanky and those sort of things. So that's really where they come into their own. Up until then, look, I'm not a huge fan. They're really just for meat runs. So all you're missing out on Scorched Earth is just something to do your meat runs. which you can do using other creatures, you know, Rexes or Thylas. And so to me, not a game changer, just an irritation. It just means that it's going to make meat running a little bit more grindy, to be quite honest. So the next one, number 4, is going to be the bug, the rnaopoda. Again, you know, only a recent addition to the island on Survival Evolved towards the back end of Ark Survival Evolved officials, and obviously was introduced with Ark Survival Ascended. But it's pretty much a game-changing tame in so much as you can use it to carry creatures around. You can shoot from it. It's fast. So again, for stealing wyvern eggs, these would be awesome because I believe they will outrun a wyvern. I don't know if that's still the case, but certainly when they were launched, they would. But I don't believe they will spawn on Scorched Earth, so on Ascended. So I think the bug we will have to do without. And what that means is that there's really nothing that you can fly and shoot from on Scorched Earth. Because you cannot do that on any of the other flyers on here, including the wyvern. So when you're taming, you cannot do any taming from a flyer anymore, which you could do before. And obviously with cryopods now having the limitations that they do on Ark Survival Ascended, it means that you can't carry your Rexes to the obelisk, for example, so you're going to have to walk them. So if you want to take Rexes into the Manticore fight, or anything, to be honest, into the Manticore fight, you're going to have to walk it to an obelisk from wherever the nearest cryopod deployment you can get yourself. So I would expect early on, definitely, that the real estate around the obelisks will be very much sought after. People will be looking to get down foundations, any number of foundations that they can in the vicinity, so that at least they've got themselves somewhere where they can throw tames out. Okay, so the last one is 3. And sorry if that's confusing, but the last 3 creatures that I'm going to cover, I'm going to talk about all at once because they have one thing in common. That is, we've got the Therizino that doesn't spawn on Scorched. We have the Woolly Mammoth, which obviously doesn't spawn on Scorched. And we have the Beaver, which doesn't spawn there. What do all 3 of these have in common? Well, all 3 of them are great for gathering wood. So the Theri gathers huge amounts of wood if you've leveled up its melee. The Mammoth now gathers great amounts of wood with its secondary attack, and also has a huge weight reduction on wood. And the Beaver is also brilliant for wood gathering, as you would imagine. So none of those spawn on Scorched, but on Scorched there is an additional new creature introduced to that map called the Thorny Dragon. Now, the Thorny Dragon is loosely known as the Beaver of Scorched Earth for very good reason. One is that it's good for gathering wood. It also has a weight reduction on 50% weight reduction on wood, stone, and I believe also fibre and thatch too. So very useful for gathering and carrying and transporting those things. So if you level up its weight, you can go around and gather huge amounts of wood using a Thorny Dragon, because wood resources on Scorched Earth are tricky to find, to be quite honest. So that's the one you want to tame. So there we go, quick overview, just to help you out. There may be some of those creatures that you hadn't considered not having available to you on Scorched Earth. As I said, very dependent on whether transfers are open from day one or not. I'm working on the assumption that, as with Ark Survival Evolved when new maps came out, that you will be able to transfer your character across, but you won't be able to take any materials, any equipment, or any dinosaurs with you. And if that is the case, what that means is that from day one, none of those creatures will be available. So maybe give that a little bit of thought. Maybe we need to do some Plan B prep and think about what you're going to be taming first, and where you're going to base yourself on the map in order to take advantage of the tames that you need. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. I hope Scorched Earth lands when it's meant to. I'm very excited about the map. I'm really looking forward to seeing what it looks like on Ark Survival Ascended. I think it has the ability to look awesome. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and I'll be playing that map from day one for sure. So yeah, that's it from me. If you did like the video, got something out of it, then maybe drop me a like, subscribe if you haven't already. There's lots more videos coming, and I will catch you in the next video. I'm Llama, and I'm out of here.